Energy in Africa is a major problem. The reason why is that the national power grids in each country have gone about as far as they will, but there's a certain amount of lack of density for the rest of the population, and they don't have electricity. So, of the 1.2, 1.3 billion people in Africa, about 600 million of them don't have access to electricity. So what happens is there's small power producers that go in and say, well, I'm going to set up a new business here that does a mini grid. Usually they have to overbuild it because they're thinking about what will the power use be like, the demand be like in 5 or 10 years from now. And so they may build 100 kilowatts of energy, but the community only uses 20. So what do they do with the wasted energy? They've already overbuilt the site a little bit. That community is only using 20 kilowatts because the first thing that anybody does is just go buy an LED light bulb, or they maybe charge their phone. It's only years in the future where they might buy a microwave, or they might buy a hot pot, or they might buy a television, or they might buy a refrigerator, different things like that. In the meantime, what they have then as the power producers, they have a problem. They have sunk a lot of money into building this, as well as having an excess amount of energy that they can't sell to anyone. There's no other buyers. It's wasted energy. There might be in that community, there's the normal, ordinary people who live in the houses, but there's also the, maybe a maize mill, maybe there's a mobile phone tower, maybe there's a tea factory, but that won't use too much energy. And so what happens is we come in and we say, okay, you have all this wasted energy, let's partner on it. And how we partner is we say, listen, we're not going to pay you cash money for your power. Instead, we're going to do a profit sharing or a revenue sharing agreement with you on all the Bitcoin that gets made here. You'll make 30% of it, we make 70% of it. And that then allows them to finally be a financially sustainable organization, which of course then has downstream effects to the people that live in the community. They realize the benefits that come when we come as well. Sometimes it's little things like now the power company is profitable, so they can expand their power to more households. Other times it's because we're there, and now they're able to sell all of their energy all day long. They're more profitable, so they can reduce the price of the power for people in the community. So in different places it has different outputs, but it's always better. There's two reasons why Bitcoin mining is the perfect partner for expanding electrification in Africa. One is because we're geographically agnostic. We can be anywhere and go anywhere. We're not bound by anything. So all we need is to get an internet connection there, and we have to have power. That's it. The second reason why Bitcoin mining is the best thing in the world for African mini grids is because we can have real-time demand response. So if the water goes down because there hasn't been enough rain, that means the supply of energy goes down, or the demand for the community spikes or goes down. We can, within milliseconds, turn off machines, and within seconds, turn on machines, right? And so we can be that real-time demand response for the whole power company as well as their grid. And it just changes the game for them. It changes it immensely. In any given African country, you're going to have very different views on Bitcoin from the regulators, from the government. Some countries aren't paying any attention to it, don't care at all. Other ones are starting to think through what would a finance bill look like that included, taxation or some other type of rules and regulations around crypto as a whole, as well as mining. So the thing about Africa, it's 54 countries, and so each one will have its own rules and regulations, and so it just does differ. So you have to be specific. So in Kenya, we have some new finance laws that are coming through that will have an effect on cryptocurrencies as a whole, and will affect Bitcoin. But in other countries like Malawi or Zambia, you don't have as much, or in countries like South Africa, they're pretty friendly to it. Right? And so it just differs depending on where you are. I have been pleasantly surprised. And it was something that I did not expect to see when we started this company, that we would have more of an impact on electrification for the people who need it most in the world than we would on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is, of course, our goal. We mine Bitcoin, we stack Bitcoin, that's our company. But the mission is to now decentralize the Bitcoin network, which is what every miner does, and move more of that hash rate to Africa. But where you really see the changes is that by pushing the edges of electrification in Africa further, you can change thousands, millions of people's lives just because they have access to turn on a light bulb for the first time, just because their child can now study at night with a LED light bulb instead of breathing in fumes from a paraffin lamp, just because they can now finally irrigate their fields and be more productive, just because now there's lights and people can walk without need for security, right? There's just because now the hospital can have energy and people can be treated during the nighttime, not just the daytime. Like this is like what we often forget is that electricity is the base layer for human progress. And there's wide swaths of the world that don't have it. Not that they don't have just reliable or affordable electricity, that they don't have electricity. So Bitcoin mining, why it's so interesting and why it's so game-changing is because it changes that paradigm completely. It's the missing piece, that missing puzzle piece to allow electrification to happen where it could never happen before. And more importantly, maybe, is the financing of that electrification can be done differently now too, because the return on investment for bundling energy with Bitcoin mining is 3 times better than it is with just energy alone. If you just invest in energy, you're expecting a 20 to 30 year return on investment. If you bundle it with Bitcoin mining, your return on investment is 7 years. So why wouldn't you do that? And so it's just about changing the way that financing can happen so we can push electrification out further. And yeah, sure, the icing on the cake is we get Bitcoin as well.
Boom. Done. Thank
Okay.
you.
Hope that was good.
It was very good, actually.